Boom, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday to you. Hope you are having a great Saturday so far and an amazing weekend. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This industry and space that, I'm just crazy about. So today's topic is going to be a fun one because I love it. You know the drill. Hop into the comments. Say, hey, where you tuning in from. So while I'm checking all the broadcasts to make sure that we are broadcasting, and on the channels there. Checking YouTube. So that's why I say if you are, checking out from any of the platforms, throw into the comment, yeah, I'm watching you from YouTube. So I'll know that YouTube's going, which it is. I just saw it. And LinkedIn. LinkedIn wants to act funny today. Let's see. Let me go to the event. Let me try my homepage again. No, not going. Let me check the event. Again, we are here every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live. Like I said, 3 p.m. on, it says I'm live. I don't know why I'm not showing up on my homepage, but the broadcast is going on LinkedIn as well. We stream to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the Facebook group, and the website for the show. That's where you can check us out live at. And let me make sure. Yep. And I feel better. Like I said, I was having so much issues with Facebook. Now I feel like, or streaming into the Facebook group for the show. But now I feel so much better now that have been able to get that resolved and working. So I feel much better about that. But make sure, like I said, we're on those channels. Make sure that you hop on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification, give a thumbs up, comment, because that always helps the algorithm. But definitely hit the bell notification and subscribe so that you do not miss out on when we go live with the show and great new content goes up on the channel. You'll be notified as well. Also, like I said, hop on over to the Facebook group community. Get plugged in there, facebook.com/groups/The Color of Motion. We definitely want you to be a part of the group. Don't miss out on industry news we share, connecting with a lot of other great industry professionals there as well. We have great conversations, so definitely don't want you to miss out. So make sure you hop on over there as well. We do have an Instagram channel. So, you can follow us. We do post some episodes up there, some short clips and things. Instagram.com /The Color of Motion. But definitely connect with us on any of those channels for sure. Miss Amanda, howdy. How's everything going? Appreciate you stopping by. I kind of figured she's a VFX person, so. Yeah, she would definitely get an interest out of this. But appreciate you stopping by again. If you're coming in, don't come in without saying hello. That's just rude. Don't you think? It's just rude. You come into a place, you don't say hello to somebody. Say hello, and I'll be sure to say hello back. But yeah, make sure that, like I said, you get plugged into any one of those channels as well. I highly encourage the YouTube channel because, like I said, that's where you'll be able to check out all the other episodes and everything. And when we're on the YouTube channel, everybody can kind of interact and see everybody else's chats. When you're on other different platforms, then it's isolated. Everybody only in that platform kind of sees it. So there as well. Also, the store is open. Make sure you hop on over to the store, pick you up something nice. We have a lot of color of motion gear, some nice shirts, hoodies, mugs. Again, like I said, always putting things into the shop. And my goal is, I want to see as many people with the color of motion gear as possible. So make sure you hop on over and pick you up something as well. My only request is, if you do pick up something, make sure you snap a picture of yourself so that we can share it on the channel and then on the show and on the social channels. As you can see, I got my color of motion gear on as well, representing. So that's always good to see. And I definitely want to share that out with the community as well. Also want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor of the show, DG Graphics. They do our graphics, overlays, animations, and all of that stuff. Help us look good. So if you're a business and a brand that's looking to level up your content and create really immersive, engaging content, then definitely give them a shout. So appreciate them for always supporting the show. I think that's pretty much all the little housekeeping stuff that I have to do. Yeah, for the most part. So I think we're ready to get this show on the road. What do you say? I hope you're excited about this, because I know I am. Yes, we are back and ready to get this show on the road. Like I said, I hope you're excited about it as I am. Like I said, I'm a VFX fan, so I love VFX and everything, and definitely looking forward to sitting down, talking with my next guest, and then looking forward to having him on the show. So like I said, if you are a movie VFX, kind of nut or aficionado, definitely you're going to love this episode. My next guest was born from Jamaican parents in Birmingham and grew up in South London. He's always been a B+ student, not great or exceptional, just better than average. His favorite subjects were history and geography, and was always a bookworm. He enjoyed getting lost in worlds and loved reading comics when he was old enough to venture out on his own to go buy them. He did a media course at college and edited a music video, which was the first time he did a project that kept him focused and entertained for hours. He decided he needed to work in that field somehow. He did a stint in architecture. I didn't want to do architecture either. And as an AutoCAD, I thought about it, but it was a little too technical. Designer, as an AutoCAD designer, which was great money, but boring. In 2024, he formalized some members to create a collective called Sabubona Productions to offer their skills and services as VFX artists to help out on any projects that might need talented artists with remote setups. His long-term plan is to start building and working on their own IP to pitch for future funding. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. Courtney Pryce.
Thank you. Howdy.
Courtney. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this episode for a while. How you doing, brother?
No problem. No, I'm good, my friend. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And before we get off the bat, I'm deeply impressed by the setup that you have here, the live broadcast. You need your flowers, family. So,
I
well done.
appreciate it.
It's
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
it's very impressive.
Thank you so much. I always say my goal is to make the show the best show that it could possibly be, and to
Mm,
highlight my guests and friends in the best possible way that I can highlight them. So I
mm,
appreciate that so much, brother, for sure.
yeah, equally.
Well, I always like to kind of start kind of with how you got kind of interested in VFX and kind of what you were
Mm,
doing, and kind of at what age did that kind of really kick in that you realized that
yeah.
this was something that you would enjoy doing.
Mm. I think it was a bit of an accident, if I'm honest. I feel like I fell into what I do now. At first it was like I just wanted a job in the industry that entertained me. But like everybody, I grew up watching Star Wars, Jurassic Park, all those kind of films that had visual effects in the early stages,
Yeah,
and I was always mesmerized by them. So I've always had an affinity to science fiction, aliens, Terminator. You know what I mean? Like you can go down the list,
yeah,
but all of that kind of really sparked the imagination. And it was only until I graduated, well, not even graduated, well, my last few years of university that I ventured into the industry and started seeing it from a different angle. Now, like I said, it wasn't like VFX because actually I'm 40. That's another thing to say. Like during my era, from when I graduated, this is like early 2000s. Yeah, so there's not really desktop software. There's not really tutorials out there. There's not really what I mean, like easy access to learn this stuff and get into it. So it's not widely known. It's quite early. So I kind of had to stumble my way through and find out bits and pieces and
yeah,
gradually kind of like get into it. But I started off as a runner. I got into that DVD authoring and VT operating, so checking back VHS tapes and
yeah,
digibeaters and all sorts of stuff like that. And then I went into a boutique company that done commercials, and I was kind of like their technical assistant that helped out with like when they were figuring out like new workflows with when HD come along
yeah.
and like red cameras and linear workflows, and you know what I mean. So all of that sort of stuff there was my I grew with the industry a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was only until probably you know what my numbers might be off because like I said it's been a while,
No,
but
hey, no worries. I'm
yeah,
not gonna
no,
hold you to exact numbers, and let me
yeah.
fact check. Let me fact check for you. Oh, you're wrong, man. You're wrong.
No, but it's the journey's been a while. So basically, but I got to one of the companies that was a film company that was doing versioning, and we started dabbling. I dabbled in Shake before, and
Yeah,
he started dabbling in Nuke, Fusion,
yeah,
Toxic, and then I just kind of gravitated to Nuke, and then I got a job at the Foundry, which was a blessing
yeah,
because
yeah.
that really
The great
cemented me in the
company. Yeah,
industry, and that was like
uh,
the first start of my actual VFX journey. I think, the
yeah,
rest of it was adjacent, like VFX adjacent.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, for sure. Mr. Victor, appreciate you stopping by there. Yibo, he's gonna be a featured guest too, so appreciate you stopping
Brilliant.
by as well. Uh, I knew Amanda was gonna put this. I knew he had to have Jamaican heritage.
Yeah,
I
man, we have the same last name. But you know what? Big up Amanda, because like really, I see her work and I see her episode, and I salute her, man. The journey
yeah,
that she's
Amanda.
had and to get to where she is, I love it. So keep on being great, man. Love to see that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
there's not enough
yeah,
black women in the industry, so yeah, just keep
yeah.
on. You know what I mean? Being a champion.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, like I said, one of the big reasons I had her on the show in the first place, because there weren't a lot of women in the industry,
Mm,
especially in the aspects that I came across, and black
mm,
women at that. So,
mm.
yeah, appreciate that, and definitely looking forward, Amanda, to having you back on the show for sure. Um, like I said, and we were talking about this before, just before the show. You're now in kind of Portugal, and not in
Yes.
London. But growing up in London, was it, um, I guess, difficult to find a community of other, black creatives that were into the same thing that you were at the
I
time?
mean, yeah. So I think so one of the good things about London is that Soho is like a couple square mile radius of where a lot of the film industry
Yeah, I
took
know.
place.
Yeah, studio. A lot of
So
studios there. They got a lot of studios
exactly.
there.
So everything was within arm's reach. You know what I mean? Like it's like a half an hour, 45-minute journey to get into Central, and then you're in and around, in and amongst it.
Yeah,
So as that industry was growing, and it's around that Harry Potter era when it started booming.
yeah,
That yeah, like that was when they started reaching out to artists, and like obviously the volume of the work, they didn't have enough skilled people, or they basically they ramped up the industry and it just ballooned. So it was easy. There was opportunities there, but when I got into the industry, because I was at the foundry round about that time, or maybe I don't know. Yeah, so I was so basically by the time I got like become a freelancer and started working for myself, that was uh, kind of 2016.
hmm,
So it was only then that I was kind of cutting my teeth in the freelance world and trying to understand clients and branding, marketing, kind of like making sure that you got work, keep it going and stuff like that. So gradually you build up a network, and then through that you start meeting like-minded people, or people
yeah,
that come from have a similar journey to you, and like a lot of the people that I've met during that journey are still part of my circle now. Like they're still, good friends, and we've all grown together
yeah,
as artists and worked on sick projects together. I mean, I've got there's a good like circle of us that we've kind of, and it's yeah, we've gravitated because there's not many of us. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
when you're working long hours, and you get your lunch break, or sometimes you just want to relax a bit, and you want to just kind of you don't have to keep you don't have to kind
Facade to
of be,
facade.
or you know what I mean, filter
Keep the
yourself all the
facade
time. You
going.
kind of, I mean, I don't want to say it like that because it sounds
Yeah,
like I'm being disingenuous, but it's like you have to present yourself in a way that's that's kind of like professional. I'm not even professional. I'm not even going to say
yeah,
that, but you have to present yourself in a certain way that isn't the same way you would do with your
yeah.
friends,
If you were
and
just hanging out with friends or
that's one
something
thing
like
you're
that.
connected with. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that might be across the board, but yeah, there's a different kind of thing you present at work versus around your people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, you were like you were saying, the industry kind of at that time in that area was really booming. Like I said, a lot of studios around in Soho in that area were working on, working for a lot of the big movie studios, working on stuff, and work was plentiful. Um, how is it now? Because the industry is kind
Yeah,
of, as a whole, kind of going through a little
yeah,
strange period right now.
yeah, man. No, it's
How is
tough.
it,
Yeah,
for you now?
it's really tough. It's really tough. I mean, I'm fairly lucky. Well, but when I say fairly lucky, I've made how do I say this? So I've been able to maintain a decent level of work to kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
keep afloat. But I've heard some really kind of like bad stories of like
yeah,
talented artists not working since all of October, December. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like not even, and one of the things that I say is that, so when I left England, or when I left London and I moved out to Portugal, I sold up my flat, but my mortgage rates were kind of like increasing, like with everybody else's, right? Had to pretty much, like, it was an extra 500 or whatever it was a month, yeah,
yeah.
and that's not small money, you know what I mean? So
No,
don't
it's
get me
not.
wrong, like, you get me, that
No,
it's
that's a good piece of
it's
change.
significant. Exactly. So I was able, so me setting up and coming out here, my cost of living's gone significantly down because of
Yeah,
I'm not living in like zone two London.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to reach a higher bar.
yeah,
But when I speak to some people that are still in London and still got the rates rising and the work's not there, at some point, a lot of them are going to leave, and a lot of
yeah,
talented artists that I'm talking to are talking about switching industry and going,
yeah,
just to keep afloat. And once they do that, and if they find work that's sustainable, they might not come back. So
yeah,
then there might
yeah,
be a shortage of artists. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
So it's like it's actually a cycle, and I understand the reason for the strikes. I'm a union member. I fully think that, you know what I mean. They were necessary, and you have to kind of, you know what I mean. You have to go through the pain to kind of get through to the other
yeah,
side.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, man, there's been some people have had it rough. So I've managed to navigate it, but I've heard some really bad stories. So
Yeah, I mean,
I feel for people out there.
and we're getting the same thing. You're seeing the same thing here, which I mean, like I said, I'm not directly into the industry, but I live in Houston, Texas. I mean, we're here in Houston, Texas, which is centrally located. So it's not like, California pricing, and it's not like East Coast. And you got a lot of creators, especially now that the industry is going through its little downtime. Studios are letting people go and that type of thing, that are migrating out from those more expensive places to get more bang for their dollar
You
in
have
what
to,
they're spending. They have to
yeah,
do that. I mean, like I said, but the good thing about COVID was it showed that we can work remotely and didn't necessarily have to live. Now,
definitely,
obviously, depending on what position you got, you may have to be on location in that city of that job,
exactly.
that you are. But if you're a VFX artist, an animator or illustrator or something like that, you don't necessarily have to live, where the studio is to, get
Exactly.
working, that type of stuff. So,
Exactly,
um,
and it also opens up the company's talent pool, so they can get people from a wider scope of countries,
yeah, yeah,
but also, like, it gives you the flexibility to choose, well, to, yeah, not be in these high cost hubs anymore, these high standard of living hubs,
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you said that because, I think that maybe kind of one of the, you know, I guess downsides or negative sides of the whole, uh, remote work, speak. A lot of the companies now, they're outsourcing to these outer, other countries and regions to, because they can get cheaper labor than what they would normally have to pay here in the states, type of thing. Do you see, you know, more of that happening, I mean, and do you think that's just an inevitability, just because the internet's a global? I mean, it's a global thing, and now people can work remotely.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
Exactly. I think it was an inevitability because it's digital, and as long as everybody's got access to the internet, that was gonna be, that you can access these remote stations. But at the same time, the work going to other countries and taken away from, I think the skill set will always, I think it's more like the finessing stuff will always stay with the certain artists that have come
hmm
from a certain, like, got a certain level of experience, that have
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
been for a lengthy period of time. Now, don't get me wrong, like, they do some great work in all other regions, you know what I mean? You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
say one country or one area, one region is better than another, because I could, you can find work,
yeah. You
amazing
can
work
find
in that
somebody
region.
that, yeah,
But sometimes, I mean, and also there's, I mean, it's a complicated game because there's tax incentives, and and
yeah,
and then and even just collaborating. Like, sometimes you do need certain key people within a vicinity, or at least on the same time zone. Like, time zone is a big factor. So there's a couple factors to it, but yeah, I'm noticing personally that a lot of like roto work and cleanup work and stuff like that is getting sent out. So that's, and to be honest with you, as much as you cut your teeth learning those skills. We want to be doing, we want to be kind of like making the pictures look as best as they can, putting the polish
Yeah,
on them. So it's like, yeah, if we can cut around some of that and still, create brilliant work, then, but yeah, with the remote working, basically, I'm noticing that in London there's like the hybrid option as well, and people
yeah,
are asking for like maybe a little bit in the office, a little bit
yeah,
out, and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, because the point of coming to Portugal is that getting to London's like a 3 hour flight, and if it's a week or 2 week, I can kind of like schedule that if I needed to be
yeah,
in a region. So it's not, I'm not super removed, but I think when you go a bit further afield, then it might affect the type of work that you're doing. It might, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Everybody just jumping on, having a fun conversation with my man Courtney Pryce, Nuke artist extraordinaire. Miss Amanda, appreciate that. Big up to you, Courtney. Y'all two, yeah, definitely have to connect for sure.
100, yeah, yeah. My door's open. Yeah, reach out whenever. You know what I mean? I'm open door. And that's
Mr.
anybody that kind of needs to reach out to me after this or
Yeah,
whatever. Like I'm quite
and you
responsive
always know
to.
everybody that all the contact information we'll show share at the end of the show, and definitely will be up on the show notes moving forward. So I always say when I do that, make sure that you connect with him for sure. Mr. Barry, GainsCon Media. John keeps working. Yeah, I got to
There
keep
you
got to
go,
keep it got to keep it moving. Got to keep it moving.
trucking man. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been checking
man.
out the unboxing videos that the directors have been sharing on the social there, Barry. It's been fun to watch. Like I said, just got done doing GainsCon Film Festival about a month ago in Vegas. Did a live broadcast from there, and that was a fun experience. And so looking forward to next year for sure. And uh, definitely, Courtney, if you have something, a piece that you're working on or something like that'd be a great festival. And if you're into sci-fi and it's a
Okay.
sci-fi, horror, and fantasy
Mm,
type of
okay.
theme, so
Right.
be a great little
Yeah.
festival to.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah. I'm because I've got a few things going on family wise. There's a couple projects that are on the back burner at the moment.
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah,
kind of need to get a bit of bureaucracy and a bit of kind of like, because we're still kind of finding our feet here. So
yeah.
once we get state the foundation set, then yeah, all systems go and all of that. Mm.
Well, like I said, and we're gonna take in a few minutes take a look at some of Courtney's work, and but I'm always fascinated. Like I said, I love VFX, and I love jumping in doing VFX. I'm not a hardcore like nuke artist or anything like that. Uh, uh, but uh, it always fascinates me, how you know VFX artists put shots together and things like
Mm.
that. For you, what was kind of the I guess most challenging thing in on your journey to getting better at VFX and working on
Mm.
movie projects and putting shots
That's a,
together
that's a good question.
you know
That's a
because
good
I'm
question.
always thinking, and I guess you have to problem solve and about or unless you have direction. This is you
Mm.
know what we want, but how you get to it, how you figure out a shot, or how you're going to
Yeah.
accomplish a shot is a different
Mm.
thing. Um,
Yeah.
how do you go about it, and what was that kind of the challenge of learning? What was the hardest part of learning VFX and really
Um,
doing it?
yeah, that's a good question. There's so many facets to VFX that you know you can go down so many different paths. I mean,
Yeah,
you've got the technical director side of things where you can learn the Python scripting. I dabbled in that, but then if you haven't really got a background doing that, you kind of I hit a bit of a ceiling. so I couldn't go much further in that. I dabbled in 3D, but again, some people that specialize in it, they excel in,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I bowed out of that.
Find your lane. Find your
Yeah,
lane.
basically. So, but with the compositing aspect, because I was kind of, I liked Photoshop. Photoshop was kind of like the first venture into compositing. That was kind of where I understood the idea of putting elements together.
Hmm.
And then when I got into Shake, the technical aspect of putting images together was quite a challenge. Like kind of knowing, which pipe goes where, the nodal system, and being procedural, like knowing that you're working in a certain way so that if you need to redo anything, it's got a flow to it that you can kind of retrace your steps. So, but if I had to kind of nail it down, to the hardest things to learn for me was, I'm not really partial to commercials, episodic TV, or film work, right? But the difference between them in commercials, I found it hard to understand the speed of the work, or the speed that the speed of the turnover. I would be noodling, and things need
Yeah.
need to be turned over quickly.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
fiddling on masks, and it's like, you know what, it's fine. Let's get it out, shoot on it. Da, da, da. Da.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So all of that, I had to learn on the fly. And again, what I mean. That's an experience thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Films, the hardest thing, again, that you know for me to learn, was things like grain management, and the intricate details, like making sure that the edge is right to the edge, and you're bleeding the color over to the motion blur edges and stuff like that. It was more the detail, the specific, the fine details, basically, of film work. That was a challenge, and that kind of like up to my attention to detail a bit, and
Yeah.
episodic was kind of like a merge between the two. But by the time digital streaming platforms come out, I'd kind of cut my teeth in both fields. So I was able to, I had enough experience to work quickly if I needed to, but also I could, if there's a big shot that needs finishing, I can get into it as well.
Well,
So
I mean,
timing.
you and your thoughts on, I guess, just because I guess the principles of VFX don't change across software, but you've obviously worked in a lot of software that's come and gone, Shake, or I'm pretty sure that some of the software that
Yeah.
you trained on, early before you got to Nuke, which is, I think, pretty much industry standard. If they're, for film and stuff, is they're using Nuke. But there was combustion. I dabbled a little in combustion and
Yeah.
some of that
Me
as
too.
well. But you know, for you, is that just doesn't really matter the software. It's just more getting used to the user interface of that software, the tools
Yeah.
that you and the principles that you use are still the same
Exactly.
across them.
No, that's a good question as well, actually. So one thing, because basically when I was working at the foundry, I would train people. So part of my job was to train people on how to use the software, and there was basically an era where people were coming from After Effects into Nuke, or they were
Yeah,
coming from Flame into Nuke,
yeah,
and
flame.
there's a whole kind of like different principles and workflows that need to be kind of translated into Nuke in order for them to do their work. But the thing that I've always said, no matter the software, if you're a compositor, you know the principles of compositing. It's just a case of someone telling you where the buttons are. So that's a time thing. That's just a muscle memory, time, repetition, experience. But the
Yeah,
actual skill of compositing, the actual art of knowing how to make an image and make it look right, and the photographic elements that go into making an image, that is the core skill that should translate whether you're doing Photoshop, Shape, Nuke, Fusion, Toxic, whatever. You know what I mean? So the software is always just a tool, but the principles, the skills are always, they don't
yeah.
change.
Well, do
Yeah.
you see? Uh, I mean, you can say the same about Photoshop and After Effects and some of those big softwares, but do you see um, kind of other softwares, like, at some point jumping ahead or are getting better, if not as good. I think that's what, especially in this
Yeah.
kind of subscription era that we're in,
Mm.
people are kind of tired of,
Yeah.
paying a
Yeah. Like
subscription.
high.
They would rather own the software outright. And now you're
Yeah.
coming across people that are looking for alternative, especially if you're just
Exactly.
a freelancer and,
Yeah. Exactly.
solo person.
And exactly, and again, like if you I mean, they do have an indie version, like a free-ish kind of version of Nuke. But if you wanted to do, big, like complicated work, I know Blender's got a compositing element in there.
Oh
I know
God.
Fusion's
Yeah.
got a compositing element in that software, in the DaVinci Resolve. Sorry, it's got a compositing element in there, Fusion. So I think on the individual kind of hobbyist aspect,
Yeah.
there's enough platforms or enough kind of like tools out there for you to composite or learn how to composite or get your compositing done, that don't have the overheads that Nuke might.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from an industry standard point of view, if you want a career or work, or Nuke is the industry standard, and I can't see it changing. For like, the actual infrastructure has been built around that software, so these companies, they're almost they're almost tied into the setup. Do you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like, what I mean,
Yeah.
it just has to. It's a lot would
It's
have
like
to
there
change for
is
that.
no other, yeah, just like Maya is like industry standard for
Exactly.
animation is, even though
Exactly.
there's a ton of other software, great software
Exactly.
that can do animation, Maya is just so ingrained in the production
That's it.
process of it. It's
That's
just
it.
kind of hard to get around, for sure. And definitely interesting that, like I said, you work for the Foundry, Nuke. I played around in Nuke. Like I said, I wasn't a little much for me, but I did
But
love.
if
I
you need
do.
if you need any lessons, let me know, man.
It was.
If you need any lessons, let me know. I can show you some of the
Oh, hey,
basics.
well, hey, like I said, if I ever decide to, okay, I want
Mm.
to really, kind of dive into Duke,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
man.
definitely be picking your brain. But there's just
Yeah.
some, and that's the same way with Maya. Maya was, I
Mm.
was like, that's a little much for me. I need
Mm.
something,
Exactly.
that can do, great work. And then obviously, I wasn't necessarily trying to get into the industry, per se, more
Yeah, you
so
just wanted
than
to
create
experience
my
the
own
process of.
content.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
And like I said, there's a lot of great software that can, you can create your own content out there. I use
Yeah, yeah.
Blender. I love Blender. I'm learning it
There you go.
now myself as well. I love DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah,
I will say
great piece
the
of.
thing that kind of my I guess sticking point was nodes. That's the hard thing
Yes.
of learning node based structure, because
Yeah.
I'm so used to Photoshop, After
Yeah.
Effects, the layer based.
Layers.
So it's taken me a little bit to wrap my head around nodes, but I understand the power of
Yeah.
what you can get out of using nodes.
Exactly. I mean, the way I describe it, it's like a flow chart. Like, I mean, if you've done, flow chart stuff in school, or like, like back in the day, it's all very procedural, and actually, it's more visual, in the sense that you can see your thought process,
Yeah,
or the lack of it. You know what I mean? Depending
yeah,
on what you've done. You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
it's very kind
Very
of methodic.
visually friendly. You can see very
Yeah,
quickly where
exactly.
you messed up and
Yeah,
what's not working. Very
exactly.
quickly. And it's
Yeah.
funny that you said that because I was watching a tutorial on Fusion in DaVinci
Mm-hmm.
Resolve, learning Fusion.
Mm-hmm.
In the nodes. The guy said the same thing. You can quickly see what's not working and where things
Yeah,
are messing up at in nodes.
exactly. Exactly.
So, oh man. Uh, it's Amanda, and I still can't grain down pack face
Yeah.
purple
I'm
crying.
sorry.
Still
I
can't
mean,
get the
truth,
grain
truth,
down
truth, truth
purple.
be told, brain management was always tricky, But with Das Grain, that tool has kind of simplified things a lot, and has kind of become the industry standard for applying grain to your image once you've denoised it. But I think so. There was a period of time when Das Grain wasn't the industry standard. So that's another thing I should kind of mention is that people share gizmos in the community of Nuke,
Yeah.
and some of these gizmos are super crucial, not crucial, but kind of like fundamental to
Yeah.
the scripts or like some of your workflows and,
Yeah.
and making things easier. So when Dash Grain come along, made life a lot easier for grain management. So I mean, I definitely recommend getting into that and using that more often. But yeah, like grain management used to be a pain, but it's not. Yeah, with Dash
Yeah.
Grain, it's helped it a lot.
That's why we have such love for developers and people that use the software, because you can almost be guaranteed they're going to come up with a tool that makes
Exactly.
what they're trying to do much easier, and they'll realize, well, I can either sell it or give it away. So
Yeah,
plugins
yeah,
for softwares is a big business because it makes a task easier, for
hundred
sure.
percent.
Uh, Pretty much a circuit board. Yeah, pretty much a circuit. That's how I've had to view it, like an input
Yeah.
output circuit board. It's gotten easier for me using nodes, but yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely. Oh, really? So no one uses the grain node anymore.
Yeah, you should. I mean, Dash Grain is kind of like the industry standard now. So I definitely recommend trying to use that. I mean, the grain node. Don't get me wrong. Like you can still get there if you
Yeah.
want to do
Well,
that,
what
but it
was
takes time.
what would you say was the most challenging shot that you had to put together? And like I said,
Man.
we're after that we're going to take a look at some of his work.
Mm.
But for you, what was kind of the most challenging shot that took you a minute to pull it together?
I'll be honest with you. Some of the most challenging shots I probably haven't put in my show reel. So um, I mean, there's been so many. I'm just gonna try and think about some of the shots in the show reel, which would be that would be
Well, while you're
one
thinking
of the
about that, we're going to take a look at your show reel. So let's take a look,
yeah
and then we'll
yeah.
come back to
But
that
say
question,
they've all got their
everybody.
own challenge. Go on,
Uh,
sorry.
take a quick look at some of Courtney's work.
Thank you.
No, some amazing work there for sure. And like I said, um, with the challenge, 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 challenging. I'm not sure of the verb how it should be said, but with that, with a challenge for a difficult shot, um,
Yeah.
do you like I said, is has one what kind of shot was the most challenging that you needed to put together for you? I mean, I know every shot has its own
Yeah.
challenges and things you have to kind of figure out how to accomplish it, but
So yeah. So I think it kind of like it depends on the era that I took the shot on, because at the start of my freelancer journey there was some technical there was some really technical shots that I had to try and figure out. So actually, yeah, let's start there. So do you remember yeah, 360 footage, you know, like when they were doing
yeah,
360 footage, and
yeah,
you had to like you had multiple cameras and you had to stitch them together and
stitch
make
them
them look
together.
like you're
Yeah,
sitting in the middle of
yeah,
the room.
yeah.
So one of the last tools that they developed at Nuke whilst I was there was uh it's not Okina. Car. I don't know if I'm using the code name, but basically they had a 360 stitching software. Cara, yeah, Cara VR,
Yeah, I think it
yeah,
was
virtual
Carl. Yeah,
reality. Yeah, so yeah, so basically that kind of that workflow when it was brand new, because these are like 1920 cameras, 1920 resolution cameras, and you might have like 8 plates or whatever, and you're trying to stitch them together. You're rendering ST maps so that you can warp edges, blend them, line up,
yeah,
things so that it looks straight. You're not seeing seams. So at that era, in that stage, there was some tough tough shots that spent long hours working on.
working on.
So that was a tough period of time. But from the show reel, I think the Indiana Jones blue screen stuff that was quite challenging. There was some tough blue screen keying there,
Hmm.
and and what else? There's a shot with a motion control camera that goes around a platform. Passenger, it's a music video that goes around a platform like that, and we had to clean up the platform and like with the camera moving
Yeah,
and we had to stabilize it. We didn't have camera data and stuff like that, and cleaning it up was a pain as well. So there was that, and also some of the some of the crown shots. I actually picked them up from other people, and some elements were pre-comped,
yeah,
baked, and I couldn't retrace the source of those pre-comps to fix anything. So there was kind of like sometimes picking up shots can be quite challenging depending on how
challenging.
they've worked, and
Yeah,
that was quite challenging. Some of those crown shots were quite challenging. But yeah, I think the hardest kind of like what stuff that I had to do since the industry is was the car VR stuff, but in different periods of time, because I might not have known the best way to do it or might not have known the easiest way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, there've been some real challenges that I've had to kind of learn and
I
yeah
hear you.
get
Miss
around.
Amanda loves it. Wow, excellent work. You have to teach her some of that stuff.
Most
uh,
definitely, yeah, man. Yeah, she
oh,
just have to reach
hey.
out. It's not a problem. Yeah, man. We
Yeah,
can we can we
definitely.
can link
I'll
up.
probably be right alongside you, Amanda, picking
Yeah,
his brain, trying to figure out this and that. Because, like I
yeah.
said, as and I don't consider myself a VFX artist, but I've done my share of compositing in
Hmm.
3D, compositing in with video. I do a little of it now. Um, and obviously compositing in Photoshop, it does take a little, like I said, sitting there figuring out, well, how do I want these things to fit together, and how can I get
Of
these
course. Yeah.
elements to fit together for sure. Amanda has a question for sure too, and which I think is a great question because it's a VFX artist. I have a question. You don't use breakdowns for your reels for your reel
Yeah.
of like just showing. Yeah,
The
I always
finished
like the
shots.
little slide thing that shows what
Yeah.
the actual footage is and then what the composited type of
That was a conscious decision because I used to do that previously, but I would, you would have to kind of take screenshots of all the layers and elements, and it's quite time consuming. And then once you do the breakdowns to show the layers, you can only really show so much work within a minute or two. So I I basically, my earlier show reels had breakdowns. That was like, I definitely did that to show my working
Yeah.
process and stuff like that. And I think if you're starting out, that's definitely a way to go. But when you've got such a catalog or when you've got like a wide catalog of shots, it's probably best just to kind of like say, look, I can do a variety of things. I'm not kind of like, pigeonholed
Yeah.
to one thing or the other. I mean, if somebody was to ask me, how did you do this shot? How did you do this shot? I can talk them through it, but I don't feel like at this stage. I think like the quality of the work itself shouldn't. Like, I don't feel like it needs the breakdowns to kind of get the
Breakdown. It
point
should speak
across
for itself.
anymore. Like I've been knocking around for a while. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to think I'd much prefer to show some of the cool stuff that I've been doing the last year rather than how I put a shot together.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, have you? I mean, what's a shot that you've seen? I guess recently, or that you maybe scratch your head. I wonder how. And ask yourself. I wonder how they put that shot together, or composited it, or how they pulled it off. Is there a shot that you've seen that is like, oh wow, that how did they do that?
Good question. Um, uh, Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Okay,
or the last one that they
the
did,
last one.
and
Yeah,
they have a really, really long one take battle sequence in a tunnel or in a spaceship or
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it
yeah,
is,
yeah,
and the way they're going from one action to the other, and
yeah, yeah.
there's so much going on in that sequence that I was just like, wow, that is really, really impressive. So
Uh,
I would say that was that. I mean, it wasn't so much. I mean, yeah, I can kind of like. Would I say it's less a case of how did they do that, but that was an impressive feat,
Impressive
kind of
shot that they pulled
deal. You
off.
know what I mean? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
more so
yeah,
that than how. I'm trying to think. Is there any more? Is there any hows?
yeah. And it's funny you
There might
mentioned
be.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't know for some reason, uh, I was watching on YouTube the other day. I don't know, it just came up on my feed. Uh, a video from Karen Gillian, the actress that plays dang, what's Gamora's sister's name?
Oh,
Um,
the
um,
blue one, Nebula.
Nebula. She plays Nebula, and she was doing like a day in the life of you know Nebula.
Nebula.
Just showing
Brilliant.
her going to the studio, getting picked up,
Yeah.
put in makeup and everything. But it
Yeah.
just so happened that that day they were shooting that scene. And so they
Ah.
showed like, them practicing the moves and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's just funny that you mentioned that. It's like,
Really good choreography. I might have to
yeah,
find that
yeah.
footage. Yeah.
I'll
It's
make sure
amazing.
that I send that to you because it was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like it was just real rough. Just to act because it was her shooting
Yeah.
the own video, so it was really rough. But it was just
Right. Right.
I thought it was just coincidental that you said that for sure. Picking up shots from people is the worst. I spent a week trying to stabilize a shot that 5 people already worked on, and at the end of the supervisor didn't of it at the end, the supervisor didn't even need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
That
pretty sure that's
happens.
frustrating. You work
Yeah.
so long on a shot and they don't even use it or whatnot. Jeez.
I mean, I think that's one thing to kind of is one thing to kind of that over the years I've kind of got used to is not to get attached to shots.
Yeah,
Like it is a like there's been so many shots that I've worked on that got omitted and like didn't see the
didn't make the
final
cut. Yeah,
edit or whatever, and it's part and parcel of it, or shots that I've worked on up until a certain part, and then somebody else has had to take it on and I've had to jump onto another shot, and you know that's just part of the course.
Yeah,
Some of
definitely
that
for
sometimes you just can't get too attached to it. Like it's
yeah,
as long as you, because one thing I'm big on is being kind of like how like working in a very clean and methodical way, so that anybody that does pick up my shot is can kind of see my working
can,
process. And I think
yeah,
that's important. Like when you're working, because Nuke is a collaborative software. Like the whole
yeah.
idea of the node system is that somebody else should be able to jump in and see what
Jump
you're doing.
in, yeah.
Um,
What's your
so it's
organizational structure? Is it clean
exactly.
enough that where people can, get
So it
in
can
there
be
and not,
frustrating.
yeah,
Yeah,
spend the whole
exactly.
day
It can
trying
be
to figure
frustrating.
out where
Mm,
files are at and stuff like that,
mm,
or how things are
yeah, yeah.
connected. For sure. We talked a little earlier about, you obviously touched a lot of software, shape, combustion, toxic. I even forgot
Mm,
about toxic, but a lot of
mm,
compositing software, and obviously techniques and tools get better over time. Um,
mm,
how do you feel that AI is now kind of helping, hurting? Because, like I said, I guess in the early days, VFX people hated rotoscoping. I guess some still
mm,
do those
mm,
real tough shots, but with
mm,
tools like AI that make rotoscoping a little easier, I guess, at a certain level. Like I said, I guess
mm.
some shots are just a horrible shot
Yeah,
you have to do.
yeah,
There's just no
yeah,
getting around it. But what are your thoughts on AI and how it has
yeah.
or may impact VFX and what you're doing in
I
that
mean,
space?
there's some tools that are there's some tools like in Nuke, like part of the category, that are quite useful to have, but none of them are kind of like a silver bullet where it's like, instead of doing a key or instead of doing roto, or if I need to put a depth mat, that's going to work great all the time. So it's still quite early, like in terms of getting, like especially with moving image, like that's the thing to bear in mind, is that some of these tools that you get, when it's a static image,
Yeah.
it's really impressive, but when you get into moving images, that's where that a lot of the technicalities and techniques come in. Like it makes, it's an extra, it's a next level of complexity that kind of
Yeah.
can't be, you know what I mean, understated. So I think there's some good tools that will make life easier. No doubt it will get better and better over time. And, there will be less need to do certain monotonous tasks. But I don't think you're ever going to lose the craft of actually needing to,
Replace a
to,
person.
because the other thing about the AI stuff is the control. You
Yeah.
don't really have the control. A lot of the time it's a bit of a Hail Mary. You throw it in there and see if it works, and if it don't, then it's like you're back
Yeah.
to the
See
drawing
what
board.
it spits out, and see whether or
Exactly.
not it'll work in the case of, like I said, VFX and stuff like that.
That's
Um,
it. But one thing I do think is quite useful though is using it for ideation, like creating ideas, concepts,
yeah.
imagery, kind of getting those, because look dev can be a very difficult, like a very specific role. Is a specific role, but also can be quite time consuming one,
Time
especially when
consuming.
you're trying to interpret someone else's vision. So I think being able to generate ideas using AI and show what you're looking for, is where it really excels, in terms of giving you like the vision
Yeah.
sooner. But
Yeah.
also get there's a tool named Comfy UI, which is a nodal system which is allowing you to kind of get in and tweak values similar to Nuke, but is it giving you a bit more control. So if you wanted to mask out a specific area, you can kind of you can isolate that area and change that. And it's a step up from like like mid journey and those sorts of
Yeah.
things, where you kind of rolling, waiting for something that is what you're
Come
looking for.
for it to spit out
So
something. Yeah.
yeah, Comfy UI is definitely, I've been kind of not playing around with, but going in, getting into it, and I think it's definitely one to if people on the AI like landscape. I think if that one becomes more user friendly, that one will be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, no, and I tell people it's something. I definitely agree. It's a great ideation tool. for sure. And it's definitely something I think people need to, you know, figure out how, if at all, it can aid them in what they're doing. Because it's a
Yeah.
genie that's not, I always say, not going back in the bottle.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
how can I use AI to help me be a better
Mm.
creator?
I
Or
mean, the showreel music is AI generated because I
yeah,
kept on getting flagged for my music, so I was like, oh, it's AI generated. You know, it's
yeah.
like,
Hey, like I said, I'll use it where I can to save me some
yeah, man.
time on stuff for
Yeah.
sure. Um, I know you're, um, kind of big on mental health and just the
Mm.
health of a creator. Do you feel
Mm.
like you know VFX artists are it's a bigger thing with them because it's so much pressure, especially with the films and the things that are coming out now because people are
Yeah.
expecting such more elaborate, almost fantastical, seamless stuff
Mm. Mm.
from these studios, and
Mm.
obviously these are long hours that you're putting in,
Mm.
tight deadlines that you
Mm.
have to get stuff out. Do you feel
Mm.
like that's something that studios need to be more conscious of? That they got it. Yeah, they want the money, but they got to understand that a lot of these, and I know
Yeah.
they're all kind of bidding to get into these, to work on
Yeah.
these
Yeah. Yeah.
films
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's a
Mm.
big feather to, hey, I
Mm.
get to do, we're a studio that gets to do studio work on Harry Potter. It's a big
Mm.
feather.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
But overloading, creatives or stressing, just the stress
Mm.
of the deadline and,
Mm.
the quality and all of that. You feel like
Mm.
that's something that, a VFX artist, one should kind of manage and be aware of uh, how to
Mm.
manage their own kind of,
Yeah.
sanity.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. One of the best things about becoming a freelancer and having my own company is that I can manage my time a bit better when the work's plentiful. You know what I mean? Like when it's a bit quiet at the moment, but when the industry's booming, you can manage your time a bit better so you don't burn out. And I think it's super important to reclaim that somehow. Now, in England or London or even myself as a unique position, I've kind of not everybody might be able to have that luxury to kind of pick and choose, not pick and choose, but some people might be in different situations where it's harder. They have to they have to kind of do work to a certain like tempo or speed or keep on the, you know what I mean, and that everybody's individual circumstances is you know
Yeah.
is their own, right? But for me personally, being a freelancer has helped me kind of manage that, like my burnout rate. If I've
Yeah.
been working on a hard project for like 9 months, I can take a month or two out and just kind
Yeah.
of like decompress and then get back into it. And I think that's important. So I would recommend if you can freelance and if you can build up a network or a client base, I would suggest you do that, and kind of like manage that time. You take it away from somebody else. It's somebody else managing it for you, kind of deal. But at the same time, the studios always need to remember that the people are the greatest asset. You know what I'm saying? So like you can't working people to into the ground and hard demands and last minute changes and long hours and just not even
Yeah.
being kind of like kind about some of the feedback notes and being dismissive and short and just all the kind of toxic practices in any industry that wouldn't
Yeah.
wash. I find that in VFX, or it used to, I don't know about now, but it used to kind of get taken for granted because maybe there was a lot of others that would have stepped into the role if you didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think
I
now,
found it
yeah,
interesting because, like I said, I'm not a VF. I hadn't worked as a VFX artist at a
mm,
studio or anything like that. Any
mm,
VFX or stuff I've done has been freelance for my own
mm,
clients. But
mm,
we've heard the horror stories of studios bidding on a project that they underbid for and get it, that the movie will
mm,
take it and then dump so many shots on them, and then they put the pressure,
Yeah.
and that whole kind of trickle down things. There's been some studios that obviously have gone under that way, and then you get
Mm,
other
mm,
studios that are just taking in
yeah.
as many shots as they can to
It's,
do it,
it's a race to
regardless,
the bottom. It's a race to the
race
bottom.
type of thing. It's very, it could, I could probably say, I don't know if I could hang too long
Yeah.
at a studio just doing
Mm,
visual effect, especially when you
yeah.
get those like I said, hardcore studios that are
Mm,
working on
mm,
some really big projects.
yeah.
And they seem to be working on 2, 3 movies at a time,
Mm,
type of
mm.
thing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yeah,
work.
I mean, one of the things I would say to anybody in this industry, and funny enough, this is kind of like where there's a weird era at the moment where a lot of these films are saying that there's no CGI. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the no CGI episodes that Jonas Husinger's put up on YouTube, and
Yeah,
there's a weird era where they're kind of denying the work that these visual effects artists do, and then there's the low bidding and undercutting each other where they're racing to the bottom just to get hold of the work. And then there's the burnout of the artists, and then on the flips on the back end, there's not even credit them for some of the work that they're
yeah,
doing. Now, I think that is a model that can't last for too long. I've always believed in unionization, where we kind of all, we all, what's the word? We all kind of like bond together, or we kind of
band
use
together.
our
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. We band together. We use our collective bargaining to kind of give us good working conditions so that we can actually, have a good working career. Because ultimately, if this is the career you've chosen, you want some longevity out of it. Like, you want to be able to work up into your 40s, 50s, to 60s. It can't just be a young man's game where you can do
yeah,
it for 10, 20 years and then you're burnt out. That's not sustainable. And then also, those 10, 20 year olds might not have the experience to deliver the work to a certain standard, and B, like you're they they're going to end up getting burnt out and leaving the industry and going off elsewhere. And it's not always going to be a constant cycle of new VFX artists. There's going to be other things that are going to draw the attention. So I think all these companies need to understand the value of their people and their artists and really treasure them, and really, I mean, I do think there's some good actors out there, but it just needs to become the norm. It can't be one or two. You know what I mean? Like, that can't be the state of play. So I'm a bit, like I said, there's a weird kind of precedence being set where they're trying to deny VFX work and some of the magic that goes into these films, and I hope that changes at some point. But downplaying the work and the craft that we do isn't the way forward.
well, do you see, and with that, do you see a lot more artists kind of going the freelance, their own kind of route, and just like you said, kind of cherry picking the projects that they do want to work on, and taking the time off that they do want to take the time off, and
Um,
especially being able to do that now, kind of in this era where,
mm,
like you said, okay, I'm not working for a studio,
mm,
so I don't necessarily have to fit into a nuke pipeline. They
mm,
just need. I'm just creating visual effects for some project,
mm,
whatever project,
mm.
and they're just wanting the visual effects. Just like a client
Yeah,
doesn't care whether you use Photoshop or not. They don't know or care
yeah.
what tool you use. They just want the end project.
Mm,
You think it's you see more going that route now that you have those type of tools like DaVinci Resolve,
yeah.
Blender, some of these
Mm,
more readily available tools that an independent creator or freelancer can at least start with. Now, if they want to level up to
exactly.
Nuke, they can, but I can still make money doing creating
Exactly.
visual effects with tools that are much more affordable or free.
100%.
And
Mm,
like I said, I can do if I'm a great compositor or a great VFX artist, the tool doesn't
mm.
really matter. The
Yeah,
outcome of what you're going to do, output is going
exactly.
to be determined by you're just a great artist.
Mm,
Whether you use Nuke,
yeah.
you know, Da
I mean, I think
Vinci.
there's definitely opportunities that are opening up with like the internet and some of the platforms like Fiverr where you can
Yeah.
you can put your services on there, and people can hire you by the hour or by the project and stuff like that. And I think that's probably a new market that is going to get more and more popular, and give more control back to the individual, to the actual artists. But I don't know, like I don't know how much work there is out there like that. I think the big bulk of the work does come from the films and the commercials and the brands and stuff like that. And when they're doing these shoots, they do have, like, there is a whole pipeline that kind of needs to go through an existing, like, set up an infrastructure that kind of will get the best quality end product for them. So, I mean, there's many ways to skin a cat, but I would definitely say that if you are finding that working for these companies doesn't work for you and you've got the skills, ultimately the skills pay the bills. You know what I mean? So you can always find an avenue or outlet where somebody could use your services. Once you make yourself valuable to them, they'll pay for you, and you know what I mean. You can
Yeah.
kind of take your destiny into your own hands. So I would highly recommend, like, don't, like, there's avenues. There's definitely outlets to still be a good VFX artist without necessarily being
Well,
part
I
of a
want you
studio.
to tell us more and give us a little more background on the kind of initiatives that you've started, Wanda,
Yeah.
New Comma, and Angel Studios. Um, kind of give us a little background on that and tell us,
Yeah.
your reasoning for putting those entities together.
So those aren't my entity. Well, Sobona is kind of like my LinkedIn group that I've set up.
Yeah, yeah,
Sobona is
yeah,
kind of like when during COVID and after the George Floyd, I kind of wanted to, like, I wanted to create some projects, like, with just with artists that I'd interacted with on my journey, and I kind of wanted to create like a database of people that I could lean on, and um, I basically kind of pulled them into this LinkedIn group called Sabona, and it grew from that to kind of being like a community where black creators can kind of support each other or show up, like, to demonstrate their work, or kind of like highlight their skill set, and also it can be used as a talent pool. So if somebody needs a storyboard writer or legal advice, or like legal advice in the entertainment industry,
yeah,
or animation or 3D artists, there's people from all disciplines in that group, and this, that's kind of like a thing that I felt was necessary. Like, I would always have to scroll to find the people that I needed.
yeah.
So that was kind of like that's how that one got born out. Now, going forward, I am trying to set up a collective where we offer our services, like our VFX services, as a team, so we can start taking on projects and handling sequences, or
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and things like that. So we do want to kind of take that path. But newcomers more like is a project started up by a lady named Natalie and Nigel, and they basically took what I was like. They've not took it, but what I was trying to do with Salbona, they've done that and made it way more professional, way more kind of like official and professional, like like higher scale.
Yeah.
They got a great platform. Again, you can showcase all your work on there. It's like it collates all your social media, like handle all your social media streams, so that you can demonstrate in one place. It's a great talent resource for people to hire. So if any company is finding that they've got not much diversity within their team, which is very common in VFX, they can reach out to newcomer and find people of certain skill sets, and give them opportunities, and also, like, they put on events and networking and stuff like that. They're just very professional, and
Yeah, yeah,
they've done a great job with that platform. So I'd recommend, and it's global. You know what I mean? It's for the whole diaspora. So it doesn't have to be whether you're in Africa or whether you're in Europe or America. Like, it's not localized to any region. So I definitely would recommend doing that, or looking
yeah.
into that at least. And what was the other one? Sorry.
Angel Studios.
Angel Studios, yeah. So I'm like, and you posted, you commented on some, you brought something to my attention recently. The Black Sands on WeFunder, it's Black Sands project, isn't it? The
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
animation.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in crowdsourcing because so ultimately, right, a lot of our ideas or our stories don't get don't get created or produced because the studios or the gatekeepers or the people that have the funds don't believe in it or don't see the
yeah,
vision or can't, don't see the potential. And ultimately for them, it's a numbers game, right? So they'll come up with a bunch of excuses why not to go down certain routes, right? But there's enough of us in within our community where we could have a self-sufficient industry, I think, and we should be able to fund and support each other and like create some of these content that is created for us and by us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So with Angel Studios, that was the first one that I found where it was kind of like it was like a platform where you would like Kickstarter. You would kind
yeah.
of
Like
present
Kickstarter.
your project. You would break down some of the story or like the
Yeah.
project that you're about to
Give
embark on.
incentives, I guess, you give
Give
perks
incentives.
to give different perk levels,
That's right.
membership
But the most
level
im-
type.
but the most important part is the equity part of it. They would give
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
being an
yeah,
investor,
yeah,
they would give you an equity share of the
yeah,
success of the show.
yeah,
So it's now a community project that everybody that has an invested interest in it is cheering it or wanting it to succeed. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. So Angel Studios is one. Like I said, I saw the Black Sands one. I think that's an amazing project. I think these things we should be more self-sufficient, especially if we want more stories told on our history from our perspective and unfiltered. You know what I mean? So we don't have
yeah.
to. We've got the talent, we've got the skill set. We just need to organize and be able to have access to funding to achieve it.
Yeah, and it's like I said. So I guess that's the platform that Black Sands is using. And,
So they're using
or
WeFunder, which
okay,
is I've
because I
not come
was
across
like I
before.
said, it was there's another
Yeah,
coincidence you mentioned Black
yeah,
Sands because I was
yeah,
watching a post that, like I said, I think Carl Reed
mm,
reshared on his
mm,
in his feed and stuff,
mm.
and he's the um,
The CEO of
CEO of
yeah,
Composition Media. I think is
yeah,
his new company. He used to work at Lion Forge.
landscape,
He would
yeah, Line Forge, yeah, sorry,
Lion Forge
yeah,
Animation, and
mm,
they are doing, I guess, Black Sands.
mm,
Initial thing, and it kicked me
yeah,
over to their WeFund page, and I got to see the video and
yeah,
the little stuff like that, and but I saw how much they've raised to this day. And it was like,
yeah,
okay, well, but it was interesting, like you had mentioned the profit sharing, because that was another
yes,
thing that he was talking about.
it's
A
a big
certain
incentive.
membership gets a prop,
Mm,
everybody gets a prop piece of the profit sharing from the
exactly.
project. I think that's what really encourages me about this time, because you
Yeah.
got so many different avenues to get
Mm,
your own content out there. It's a lot of work,
exactly.
obviously, but
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
got these avenues to get your own, and I feel like that's another thing that lets these big studios know that it's the playing field is a lot leveler now.
yeah,
I can go
yeah.
directly to my audience, sell to them,
Mm,
talk to them, and buy them
exactly.
without having to kind of necessarily go through you, type of
That's
thing.
it. That's it. I don't. I mean, no disrespect, but I don't need to see another Batman origin story where his parents are getting murdered in
And
the
they're coming
alleyway.
out with
Like,
some stuff, I tell you.
it's like it's like as much as I love the IP, like there's stories out there that are just not being
Stories,
told. They
yeah,
just keep on rehashing the same stuff because it's safe, and
yeah,
whilst they're doing that because it's a cash cow, we're not getting our voices heard, and we're not being able to show some of our culture in
yeah,
our best light. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I think that there is what's democratizing some of the access
yeah.
to these ideas getting actually
Crowdfunded, yeah, funded,
realized, yeah,
yeah.
crowdfunded. So
It's
I think it's the way forward, man. I'm a bit, yeah, like the whole industry studio kind of path is that, you know, we know what the game is there, but it's
Yeah.
not going to serve us or our, you know, our ideas or
Yeah,
our
well, like I
story.
said, it's such a great time because now the control is much more. Well, I think it's always been. We just maybe never realize it. It's in the
Mm,
creator's hands, direct hands
mm,
of.
mm.
Yeah, I got an idea. I can, I'm a VFX artist or I'm a filmmaker. I can put my stuff
Exactly.
on YouTube and build me a
Mm.
following,
Yeah.
or I can put my stuff on
Exactly.
my social platforms or website
Yeah.
and build a
Yeah.
following, which
Mm,
which is what Black Sands did. They built their
mm,
following, which allowed
mm,
them and gave them the leverage to get on Shark Tank and to get as
mm.
big as they have been.
Good.
But they can talk directly with their audience, and their audience, if they've been on the journey along with them, is going to
Mm.
fund them in the things that they do and
Mm,
get
exactly,
behind them.
exactly. And you've already got your consumer, but like your customer base by
Customer
doing it like
base,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, that is a tangible kind of like attachment to your project that you can say, actually, I've got however many people that have funded or helped raise these funds already coming along for the ride. We just need to get it out to more. So you got a good starting point. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think I think what they do is great. You know, I think it's
Yeah,
amazing.
and I told, and I'm trying to get Carl. I've been trying to get Carl on the show since he's been at Lion, since he was with Lion Gate. So I'm still trying to get Carl. Carl, I'm going to reach out to you again.
Yeah,
And
man,
see if
hail
we
him
see
up
if we
and
can
hail
get.
up anybody that's doing something similar because it's not easy. And you know, we're a David in the Goliath situation. But you know, at the end of the day, we have to try. If we're tired of the same old narratives,
Yeah,
it has to be us that change it. You know.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
I think a lot more, even like I said, these small independent studios. I don't know how it is over there, but over here they're cropping up. Really
Yeah, I'm hearing
a lot.
actually. Yeah.
They're
Mhm.
people that may have worked at Disney or some of the big
Exactly.
companies that branched off into their own, own little thing and are producing other people's,
Yeah.
IPs that, wouldn't necessarily get produced any other
Mm,
way. Like you said, there's a ton of stories out there
mm,
that's just waiting to be told. And
mm.
these smaller studios that are willing to take a chance
Yeah.
and know that people are ready for something new, different,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
same old stuff. Mr.
Exactly.
DeWine, appreciate you tuning in there. Happy Saturday, Don and Courtney. Appreciate you there,
Thank
DeWine.
you. Thank you.
Um,
Salute.
let's see. Courtney is right. While nothing is inherently wrong with revisiting established IPs, a resurgence in fresh and successful original concepts would be great. And I think that's what, like I said,
Yeah.
the independent small studios are kind of doing. And
Mm,
independent creators, like I said, they're coming up with their own stuff and putting their own stuff
exactly.
out there. Web
Yeah.
series, their own web series and stuff like that. And I always
I mean,
say,
yeah, good.
trust
Sorry.
me. Well, I always say, trust me. If you build the following, the
Yeah.
big studios are going to come knocking on your door
Yeah.
anyway
Exactly.
because they see
Mm,
you got over 1 million followers watching whatever it is you're doing. They're going to want a piece of that or feel like they're going to put it
mm.
out there. So that's why I say
It's
it gives
true.
you a lot of leverage.
Yeah, I think because of recent times, I think about some of the films that I think have been really creative, or the shows that have been really creative, and a lot of them have been independent. Like you know,
Yeah,
when you think of what is it, the all or nothing, or the all about nothing, or
all
all
about
about everything,
nothing.
or
Yeah, yeah,
something like that. And then
yeah.
even, I mean, Godzilla, yeah, that's another rehashed IP, but the Godzilla one was done by a small independent studio and what they were
Studio.
able to achieve. So it doesn't need to be a big machine
Yeah,
behind it. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with people setting up and being self sufficient and kind of, you know, like get going it alone, going it alone.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Mr. Dewan, remember the IPs that are being retooled now were once original idea. Yeah, once at one time, they just kind of drove some of them into the ground. I think it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's almost like overaged athlete that's trying to stay way too long
Yeah,
into the game.
yeah.
It's like just
I'm,
let it go.
I'm,
Some
I'm
things you
done
should,
with zombie films. I'm done
yeah.
with Godzilla. I'm done with Batman. You know what I mean?
And you
You
have
know?
to throw Fast and Furious in there too.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wasn't a
Fast and
big Fast and
Furious.
Furious, but I think
Yeah.
they're on 10 now, so I
Oh,
don't
mate.
know.
Exactly. Everybody's just
But
got to like, kind of, yeah.
it, like I said, but I found the simple out of the simple small ones are usually the
Mm,
ones that make the biggest impact. You know,
yeah.
those small independent
Mm,
ones are, I think, the ones that just they make the biggest impact. Mr.
definitely.
Miss Amanda, Mr. Dewan says, "Hey, how's everything going?" And Barry, uh, see, that's why I like YouTube because everybody can
Yeah.
see everybody's comment. I'm hanging in there.
Mm,
How have you been? Awesome, awesome. Like I said, that's why I want everybody to
proper
congregate to the
community.
YouTube
Mm,
channel because you can all interact with each other there
good.
more so. But the thing, what do you feel like has or hasn't, as far as strides, been made in regards to like more content that's more diverse, things that
Mm.
are
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna. Yeah, because I think this does kind of sorry. I think this does kind of need to be highlighted. Is that they've done a real good job of creative adding more black characters into animation and some of these children's programs than what we had growing up. I think that's super important and good representation. Like my daughter, my children, that they get to watch black characters just as much as the white characters in their TV shows
yeah,
now, and I'm super happy about that because that whole inherent kind of you know supremacy kind of like dynamic is all in our media when we was growing up, and we even consciously or subconsciously we was actually absorbing all of that kind of
yeah,
that kind of that imagery, and the fact that so I think there's a lot of these kind of children's TV shows where they've got diverse characters in there that I
yeah.
think is really good on Disney and Netflix and what else? Like even that they've got YouTube Kids and that sort of stuff. But I
Yeah,
think they've done a good job, kind of like creating more content that represents the world that we live in. So I appreciate that. But also on a separate note, I think Disney have done a real good job with going to like some African regions and getting
yeah, and
some
partnering
content.
with companies there
Yeah.
to put out like Iwaju,
Yes.
Kizazi and things
Kizazi
like
Moto.
that.
And I think there's
Um,
another one coming out called Iyanu as well.
yeah,
Iyanu's
that's
another IP.
trying to think where is that. I can't think of who's putting that out.
It might be. I
But
feel like it might be
Iyanu,
Lionsgate or
yeah,
Lionsforge or
I think it's
something like
Lionsgate. I think that's
that.
Lions. Well,
Mm. I think
or
it's one of
Lion Forge
one of the
worked on.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lion Forge worked on that.
Mm.
Yanu,
Okay.
that's a Lion Forge
Right.
production type of thing. But
Got it. Got it.
yeah, you are now starting to get, like I said, a lot more
Mm.
um, characters that are and stories that are more ethnically
Yeah.
driven, and I think
100%.
that's coming from, like I said, smaller studios that are ethnically minority owned and run
Mm.
by like I
Mm.
said. Which he was on my show couple of years
The
ago.
Triggerfish. Triggerfish.
Triggerfish was one.
No.
Carlos Gaxiolas. He was
Okay.
on my show. He's out of I want to say somewhere in South America,
Right. Okay.
Mexico,
Okay.
Guadalajara.
Mm.
But he's got
Guadalajara. Okay.
Demente Studio, Animation Studios. They're
Right.
working on some amazing stuff.
Brilliant.
So you got some studios now that, like I
Mm.
said, are not only working
Yeah.
on big name projects, but they're putting out
Mm.
their own IP and working on their own things
Yeah.
that are
I
more
mean,
to their
I,
heart.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen Spirit Rangers? Have you seen that one
I
on
haven't seen it yet.
So I mean, I'm still in like baby world because they, you know, what I mean, they love watching their TV shows. But Native Americans, like that one is specific around Native Americans and their connection with nature, and it's got all the Native American like artwork and it's just brilliant. Like I just think like this era where we're actually getting more visuals and telling more diverse stories is especially for the children. I mean, you
Yeah,
know, we still got work
it's
to do on a adult level on
yeah,
for
but
the
catch them
adults.
at child.
But
If you get them and teach them at children's, then
that's it.
that's the stuff that stick with them,
That's it.
and feed it
It's
to
a
them.
big deal.
And
Mm.
definitely, I hadn't heard of it, but definitely would if you know of anybody that's connected with it. I would definitely because I haven't had on anybody of Native
Mm.
American. I've been looking
Yeah,
to try and connect with somebody Native American in the industry
yeah,
to have on the show
mm.
because that's the one of the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
ethnicities I've not had on the show is a Native American. I've had an
There you go. See,
Islander.
mm.
I've had a Pacific like Islander. You know,
Right. Yeah, yeah. Got it. Mm. So
with
I
Jeff.
think the actual from like just what I've seen, it seems like it's been like the art design has been very influenced by Native Americans. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody that works on that project in that company, if not majority of them, that are
Yeah.
really in tune with that culture and you know can or of Native American descent. So I think yeah, there's definitely that because you know I've those are stories that I'd love to hear as well. You know,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
I'd like to get more exposure from for them as well. You know.
Like I said, just so many stories that are out there waiting to be told
Mm,
in such an engaging way that can not only connect us but educate us in a lot of different
yeah.
things as well. So
Mm,
for sure, Mr. Dwan, hold on. This is a little large. Let me move this up. The abundance of black-centered animated series in recent years compared to the earlier decades is admirable. Stuff like Craig of the Creek, uh, Karma's World, yeah, My Dad the Bounty Hunter, um, Iwaju, etc. Yeah,
yep.
like I said, there's so many things out there now,
Yeah.
and I've had on guests from that's worked on a lot of these projects that you just mentioned,
Mm,
Dewan, and friends that have worked on a lot of those projects. I think that's like I said, what helps to encourage me to continue one doing the
mm,
show, just meeting
mm,
other creators of color, and kind of
100%.
alluding to what you were saying earlier about you know uh, uh, the organizations we talked about earlier
Yeah.
is you're
Mm,
trying to build a community of creators of
mm,
color that can connect and collaborate and work
that's it.
together, learn from one another,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah, super important, and everybody's story needs to be told. You know, it can't just be, and it can't just be told from one person
Perspective.
or one perspective. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it has to be as diverse as the world we live in, and if it's not, then it's not serving its purpose. You know, when it
yeah,
comes to stories, you know, we like that was how information got passed and you know history was recorded. So we have to you know keep that respect of the medium going and actually you know make sure that voices aren't getting drowned out by the
hmm
machines.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You've had a chance to work on some amazing projects over, the span of your journey so far. What's kind of
Okay.
been the lesson that you know you've learned maybe about yourself, maybe about the industry through all of
Mm.
these projects that you've done and been a part of?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say I'm a pretty good problem solver. Like, if you put me under, like, if you put me in a like under pressure or in a you know difficult position or like you know I'll figure it out. Or like if it's a tough shot or if it's you know if it's you know whatever it might be. This industry is kind of like this kind of career part, the career that I've gone on. There's not like any kind of tough challenge that I've kind of had to face, I've been able to figure it out. It might not, you know, be straight away, but I'm definitely resilient in that sense. I won't give up. I got a bit of a complex there. Like I
That's a
definitely
good complex to
will.
have. Don't get not to give up. 'Cause some do, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I definitely will figure it out. And also um uh this might this might not sound humble, or it might sound fake humble, but I don't think I've got a big ego. Like I've actually, like, I don't feel like, don't get me wrong, like I'm quite um I've got a lot of pride and I take myself seriously, but I don't I'm not I don't need like recognition, or I don't need kind of validation, or I don't like, there's not much ego with me, like,
Yeah.
and the work. I don't think so. Somebody else will probably tell you no, he does.
Well, to that though, is
Yeah.
there a certain sense of pride? And I guess maybe, I mean, it's
Mm.
not overwhelmingly egoism, but maybe a little bit of ego when you see your names in the credit of a big feature film type of thing, that you
So
get a
so
certain satisfaction from that.
Yeah, so funny enough, originally I did want that, and that was kind of like the goal. I want my name on the credits of the big thing. But once it happened, it was kind of like, like, all right, fine, that's done, but the work still continues, like, onto the
Yeah.
next. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. It's almost like what's the sorry? It's almost like and again, like, don't take this, like, I hope nobody
Yeah.
hearing this takes this the wrong way, but when you've been working on something for so long, that when the final product comes out, you're not really that into it anymore, you're a bit over it, like,
Yeah.
it's a bit of an anticlimax, there's
Yeah.
a bit of an anticlimax with
Yeah.
it. And I always like the challenge, or the journey, or the not knowing, the adventure. Like, that's always been the thing that drives and makes me passionate, and kind of like, yeah, makes me that drives me. The
Yeah.
actual end result, or the finished product, no matter what I've done, I've never really felt fulfilled
Yeah.
once you
Because
get that.
there's gonna be another one. Once you
Yeah,
complete that, there's gonna be another one. So it's really, like you were
exactly.
saying, more about the journey of
Yeah, yeah,
the journey, and what goes on
exactly.
in between that. Because
Yeah.
you're gonna go into another one once you finish that
Mm,
accomplishment. But it's it's funny that we were talking about that, and like I said, I've had
mm,
friends on and guests on that, like you said, they'll say, "Yeah, I got you. I was just excited when I saw my name in the credit and stuff like that." But I guess the
mm,
best
mm.
response to that was from one of my guests. Um, oh man, jeez, uh, he's a screenwriter. He screenwrites a lot and stuff.
Yeah.
Does screenwriting, but
Was
he
it me,
does.
Thomas?
No, it was this. He was actually Indian, and he was
Oh,
talking
okay.
about, he was showing his dad, I got credit, and his dad just like didn't really. I mean, he was proud, but he didn't really care. It's like, okay, well, who's
So,
gonna read that, type of thing. As far as like,
yeah.
most people get up while the credits are going on, the type of
Mm,
thing. It's
yeah.
just kind of
There
put
is
it
that.
into a good perspective, good funny perspective. But I get the sense of, you
Mm,
feel a certain way and of being a part of it. But like you were saying, it's almost like you work on something for so long, you kind of
it's my
detach.
connection. I don't know
You
if
just
it's
kind of detach
cutting
yourself
out a
from.
bit.
Yeah. Uh, Hopefully it's not on my end. You're a
Can you
little
can,
fuzzy. We can
can
hear
you can
you.
you see me, or is it gone?
Well, I can see you. It's just a little pixelated there, like
Right,
your
okay. Yeah.
image is a little low res there, but I was
All right.
I'm hoping it's not my
Um,
internet connection. I don't think it is.
I
Otherwise,
can
I probably would be too.
switch networks if I
Uh,
need to, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, your image it's good now. I mean, yeah, but it was a little glitchier earlier.
Is it all right?
Uh, it's all right now. Yeah, it's all right now. Not like
I'll tell you what.
crystal
Can I?
clear.
Yeah. Is it?
It's it's not like crystal
Let me
clear, but
let me switch to this. Yeah, let me switch to this 5G network and jump back in if that's all right. I'll see if I could
well
just
then
switch with
let
that.
me hop over to the solo scene if you're gonna log out and try and jump on another network there. So
Hopefully it won't log me out. I'll
yeah.
try and just
Well, like I said, you should be able to log back in. If it
yeah
if it doesn't on that network, then just jump back in on that one, the one that
yeah
you're using, because it's good. I mean, it's
yes
just
it's picked
every
up.
so often. Well,
Yeah
I tell you, as far as the delay, even if your
yeah
camera was good, you're gonna see a delay watching it on the computer. So don't worry about
okay
that. But like on my end, sometimes Pete, my guest cameras, their video gets kind of pixelated or
right
really
okay
jerky,
got it.
and it was doing that a little bit, but it's cleared up now, so I don't think you need
Yeah
to
no it
jump on
seems
over. Yeah,
yeah
it's
no I
cleared
think it
up a
seems
lot
fine.
now.
All right, we'll carry on.
But for everybody, like I said, that's just jumping on, we're going or almost in 2 hour. We're about 20 minutes out of a 2 hour little
Oh
stretch
yeah
there.
yeah.
And I told, like I said, as you can maybe tell, I guess Mr. Courtney has a little cough there, so he's kind of
Mhm.
working his way through something. So I said I was going to be respectful and not just tax him
No, I
to
appreciate
the max
it.
there.
Yeah,
But we've
that's
been having such a great conversation, and like I said, I love talking about VFX, and I love talking about the industry. Um, what as we kind of bring this train into the station here, what's been kind of the best piece of advice that's been given to you that's kind of served
ooh.
you? You know,
Yeah, that's a good one. So, if I go down the memory lane, do you guys know of a footballer called Ian Wright in America? Ian Wright. He's
well, when you
what
say
is that?
footballer, you're talking soccer, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, soccer. Soccer. Yeah, no, no.
It
I mean
don't mean the
football, but
same thing.
I'll say soccer.
Just to clarify that to my
Yeah,
American
yeah,
audience, it doesn't mean the same thing. Like
yeah.
here, so
No,
don't think of
yeah.
a football player. It's like I ain't heard of no football player named Ian
Yeah,
Wright.
yeah.
Soccer. He means soccer.
Yes, the soccer player. So yeah,
And
Ian
only
Wright. Have you
yeah, and only diehard soccer fans would probably know. Like I said, and that's
know
not
him?
like
Yeah,
a
that's fine.
huge
Yeah.
sport over here, but yeah,
Okay. Okay. So basically, he was black footballing legend. Used to play for Arsenal, and he was like a great goal scorer, and he's just got a massive legacy in London. Like he is basically royalty in London. Like
royalty.
he's just
Yeah,
black royalty. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like
yeah,
so, but he's gone into the media space. So when I was working, when I first started my journey in this industry, I was getting a bit disillusioned with it all. And I don't really know Ian Wright on a personal level, but I was getting disillusioned with it all, and I was thinking about jacking it in. Like these are like early stages and going a different route. And randomly, where I was kind of working, I bumped into him, and he was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I explained what I did, and basically from that conversation, he said, "You know what? You have to keep on going." Like, because I didn't, I don't think I told him that I was. I don't think I told him that I was thinking about jacking it in, but I think he could read it from my demeanor, maybe.
yeah,
But he basically said you have to keep on going because there's not enough of us in the industry. We have to be represented, or we have to
yeah,
we have to be the trailblazer. We have to go
yeah.
over that hill. We have to kind of be the person to do it.
Yeah,
And
be
and
that
you
beacon, for others to
exactly,
see.
and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be a challenge, and all the rest of it. But you're built from that. That's your legacy. That's your ancestry. Like we've never had an easy path. So that's like and he put a fire in my back. Like that definitely, like that conversation. I say like it's a bit like a like a fairy godfather look, kind of
Yeah,
come and on my
yeah.
down days, come pick me up and straighten up my back and make me feel like, all right, you know what? Yeah, I'm it's tough, but when has it ever been easy? So
Yeah,
just get roll up your sleeves, get your head down, and just crack on. And I think that was the turning point. of between me giving up and not pursuing this career and coming all the way to this end, like this side of
Yeah.
the table. So I'll, you know, whether, you know, I don't know, he probably doesn't remember it and it's probably just a Tuesday for him. But for me, it was those kind of conversations, or that kind of conversation was a pivotal moment in
Yeah.
my
Pivotal
career.
moment. Yeah. Yeah. And
And
on.
and off, yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead. You were.
No, I was just going to say on the back of that, it's made me always be open to a conversation because you don't know how powerful that conversation might be to somebody. Like you know, you might not get direct feedback from it, but as long as you've put it out there and your the words are out there and the, you know, the intent is out there,
Yeah.
then you know somebody can you know take that and actually prosper from it.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And on that, you know how I like to do on the bombs that he dropped. He dropped
Sick.
the bomb there
Sick.
of knowledge. You just never know who's watching. I mean, I try and keep
Exactly.
that. I try and keep that in mind doing the show. You don't know what kid may be watching this or pick this
Exactly.
up or somebody, maybe not even a kid, just somebody thinking that, like you said, ready to chuck it in and not go into the industry, but see a video or interview that the guest says something that inspires them to keep going. And you need those type of people and those type of moments, you know, when you're at that kind of pivotal moment where something, you know, shifts you or moves you
Yeah.
in a different,
Lights the
you know,
fire.
yeah,
Definitely.
light the fire up under you. Those type of moments are so crucial for sure. So great piece of advice to pass on and kind of in the show on for sure is, you know, keep yourself keep yourself open and step into, if you're a trailblazer, or you know, like I said, there aren't many of us in certain things, or maybe few of us, you know, just persevere through it because, again,
Definitely.
you never know who's watching it. And it was funny
Exactly.
because I was watching, maybe I watched too much videos. I don't know. But I was watching a video on Facebook, came up on my feed, but it was a little black girl watching the Olympics, watch Simone Biles on the thing, and she was mimicking what Simone was doing.
There you
So it's
go.
those little things that you know, just never know who's going to pick
It's,
up.
it's the butterfly effect. Like
Yeah.
everything needs to, like, if you do it genuine with a clean heart and, like, you know, with good intentions, the energy will be put out there and it will reverberate, and it, like, you know, God willing, that it will kind of go to where it needs to go. And you know, you might not even realize it, but you're inspiring a generation just by being, you know, like you're
Yeah.
actually changing the course of, you know, the course of history. Like every day you're kind of being effective, or like you know, doing stuff with some sort of purpose out here. So
Yeah.
yeah, never
Yeah.
take anything you do for granted. Like it's all part of the mission, it's all part of the course, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, as long as you're doing it with a genuine purpose and passion in your heart, like you said, just, you know, the rest will work itself out, and you never know, because it still amazes me when people reach out to me and say, oh wow, you know, I love your show. I wish this show was something that was on when I was younger, just to
There you
see
go.
other people of color out there doing
100.
different things. So those are the
Exactly.
things that kind of, like you said, keep a fight, because there's been a lot of times I've thought about
Yeah.
ending this show. As much as I
Yeah, of
love doing
course.
the show, everybody, there I have moments where, like I said, you kind of get lost in the forest and you wonder whether or not it is reaching and making an impact. But
Yeah.
somebody, and you think about chucking it in or ending it, but then somebody will reach out and say, "I love your show. You know, I wish this show was on before," type of
There you
thing.
go.
You know, and I appreciate the people that you bring on the show because I've learned so much. Those are the
There you
things
go.
that, like you said, put a fire under you to continue on
Yeah.
doing what you're doing. Miss Amanda, or another VFX artist that needed to hear that today. Obviously, there was some stuff Amanda needed to hear for sure.
Okay.
That's why I knew she was going to love this episode.
Okay.
VFX artist extraordinaire herself.
Mm.
But and again, Amanda,
Good.
looking forward to getting you back on. But
Yeah.
definitely, that's the whole purpose of the show is for people to pull something from the show. Yeah,
Mm.
I want it to be an entertaining show. I want us to have fun, but I do
Mm.
want people to pull valuable information that helps them
Mm.
and serves them, that they can take away. And guests like Courtney definitely make that easier for me for sure. Um,
Thank you.
Everybody, make sure that again, like I was saying, we're getting ready to show Courtney's contact information, get connected with him, go to the website, Yibo Siwabona. I
Yebu
know how
so
to say
yeah, Yebu Sabona.
Yebu Sabona. Yebu
Yeah,
Sabona.
there
I'm
you
working
go.
on my accents on different things. Yebu Sabona.
Yeah.
Check out his Vimeo channel. Connect with him on LinkedIn. He's also on LinkedIn as well. That's where we connected. He's also on Twitter. You can connect with him as well there. But definitely check out more of his work. Like I said, a lot of stuff he didn't even have in his demo reel. So and he does some amazing VFX. And definitely, like I said, when I do do make that step to learn Nuke,
Mm.
I
Yep.
will be reaching out.
More than welcome, my man.
I
More
got
than
so
welcome.
that's kind of that. I won't say the downside because I do love learning
Yeah.
software, but I do understand my brain only has so much capacity. You only have so much time, and you can't
100%.
learn everything. But
Exactly. Exactly.
there are softwares that I do want to learn and get in kind of entrenched in or learn. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm deep enough that deep into
Hmm.
into like going toward, like I said, industry
Yeah.
standard to
Sure.
learn
Sure.
visual to get
Exactly.
nuke. Yeah, to get nuke to learn.
E- exactly. And that's something I will say is don't you know what I mean, like you shouldn't put pressure on yourself to know everything because there's so many softwares out there. There's so many paths you could take. Like just find a niche, find that or something that you're comfortable with, and make that work for you. Because yeah, you being a generalist of well, it depends actually. Because if you are doing your own brand or if you're creating content for brands, then
Yeah.
you might need to know a bit of everything. But ultimately, if you need to bring people on that are skilled in that area to support you, that's probably the best way to do it because you
Oh
can't you
yeah.
can't be a
Yeah.
jack of all.
Yeah.
It's a very deep. All these softwares are very deep and complex. So,
Trust me,
you know,
if and when I'm ready to put out my animated film or whatever, I'm gonna get a professional compositor, professional
yeah,
VFX artist and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
That's their jam. I love
mm,
dabbling in it in different spaces,
mm,
but I do believe that, like I said, there are people that's their lane that they focus
yeah,
on and they're good at what
mm,
they do.
exactly,
And
yeah,
so I can appreciate the people that really invest the time to go deep into
mm,
the craft that they love rather than go
mm-hmm,
wide, um,
hmm.
type of thing. Um, yep, we are about 8 minutes off of 2 hours here, and it's been an amazing show. Trust me, everybody, he will be back on, so you won't have seen the last of, will not have seen the last of Mr. Courtney Pryce here for sure. So, like I said, now that has been on the show, he is a part of the Color of Motion family, and like any family, you're always welcome back home. You know.
100%. Thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said at the start, man, like you've got a really good thing going on here, and like it's very impressive, and the quality and the organization. Because I've tried to do a podcast before, and I know how much work goes behind the scenes that probably doesn't get recognized. And for you to get this to this level, can't be understated. So you smashed it, and just keep on trucking forward, man. It's very impressive, King. So don't you know what I mean? That's not to be kind of taken like understated. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I could be too humble sometimes, but I do appreciate, like I said, the people that appreciate what I do and can appreciate just the work that goes in behind it. And like I tell all my viewers, my goal is to make this show the best and biggest show that I can make it. And I definitely cannot do that without you, the viewers, and my friends and guests coming on the show to make it a great experience for you. Courtney, if you could hang out in the green room for just a second while I close out the show, I would appreciate it. Give me a chance to talk to you really quick before we jump off. But everybody, please, again, help me thank my very special guest, Mr. Courtney Pryce, for coming on the show and really, really dropping some great knowledge and wisdom here.
Thank you.
Hang out for just a second there, Corey. I'll be right with you. All righty. Well, I won't say it like that. I'll say it like my man, Mr. Matthew McConaughey. All right. We have come to the end of this show. And it was a fun show for sure. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have enjoyed it. Definitely, if you had to jump out or if you came in late, you're always able to go to the YouTube channel, check out the episode once it gets up on the playlist. And you'll definitely want to do that because, like I said, Courtney dropped a lot of great info in this episode that I definitely don't want you to miss out on, for sure. But as always, like I said, and like I just got done saying, I appreciate you, the viewer, so much for giving me a little bit of your time on a Saturday afternoon because I know you don't have to do this. But I do appreciate it. And like I said, my goal is to make this show the best that I can make it. And I cannot do that without you. And I cannot do that without my friends coming on and being the great guests that they are and the talented people that they are. So thank you for giving me a little bit of your time there. All right, everybody. Like I said, I know that you're not going to want to miss out with it. This season's been, like I said, we've had some amazing guests this season, and quarter 4 is rolling by. And trust me, like I was telling Courtney before the show, this year is going by quick, and so we'll soon be in year 5 of this show. 5 years. I had to admit, I'd be a little surprised because I didn't think it would last this long. For sure, I didn't think I'd have the passion to go this long. But again, today's episode was episode 160. 160? Yeah, 160 today's episode. So it won't be too long. I think the end of this year, we probably will hit 200 episodes, or at the very least, but next year. But again, 5 seasons doing this show, and it has been a blast and an amazing ride. And obviously, guests like Courtney and next week's guests are the ones that help make it such a fun ride to be on. You're not going to want to miss next week's episode because we got another doozy of an episode coming up for sure. Mr. David Oyokanami, CEO, and let me put that back out there, Mr. David Oyokanami. Like I said, I like to try and get the correct pronunciation, but it always comes out wrong, it seems like. Mr. David Oyokanami, CG creative director and 3D product animator. He's got some amazing work, and we're going to sit and have a great conversation with he's out of Africa, so we're going to have a fun time talking with him about CG, product animation, industry over there. You know how it is. So you definitely are not going to want to miss out next week's episode. With that, we are bringing this train has come into the tracks here, and like I said, I want to thank you for coming along for the ride, as always. Have a great weekend. Have an even more productive week, and I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.